Jeremiah chapter 7, and let's see, last week, verse 22, "For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this," in verse 23, "thing commanded I them, saying, Obey my voice, and I will be your God, and ye shall be my people, and walk ye in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you." Remember? And Jesus says, obey the commandments, and you will be blessed. Okay? But verse 24, "But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels and in the imagination of their evil heart, and went backward and not forward." That's where we finished up last week. "Since that day," okay, in verse 25, "that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt unto this day, I have even sent unto you all my servants the prophets." Okay? Since then, since the coming out of Egypt, the Exodus, okay, up until this day that Jeremiah is preaching, okay, he sent his prophets, and God specifically lets us know which prophets, okay, are his prophets, because they're here in the Bible, and they all start the Lord spake unto them, and the Lord said, you will be my prophet. So, but there are false prophets out there, but they are not ordained, if you will, by God. God didn't call them to be his prophets. He called Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel. Goodness, I can't speak this morning. Ezekiel, all those other guys, Daniel, and the minor prophets. Okay? He told them, he chose them for the job. "Even sent unto you all my servants the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them." Okay? God encourages his true prophets and gives them the message that he wants the people to hear. Okay? But all through chapter 7, we get the phrase in verse 26, "Yet they hearkened not." They didn't listen. They hearkened not unto me, nor inclined their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse than their fathers. And it's been a several hundred year progression from Egypt to this time, that they just got worse and worse and worse. And then they decided, they didn't want a king, a godly king. They didn't want God for their king. They wanted a human king. So they got Saul, and he turned out really well. And they got David, and eventually, Solomon. Some of the kings were listed in the Bible as good kings, some of them evil kings. They did that which was good and right in the sight of the Lord. They did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. But all this time, progressively getting worse and worse and worse, until, God's patience, his long suffering, was running out, because they did worse than their fathers. Okay? And now, again, more instructions from God to Jeremiah, verse 27. "Therefore thou shalt speak all these words unto them." Okay? You're going to give them my words. I'm going to tell you what to say. I'm going to give you the messages that you need to speak to these people, these stiff-necked, hard, backsliding people, but they will not hearken to thee. Okay? And that's, it's encouraging to Jeremiah that God is telling him what to say. But just think, the discouragement that he might have had with this. Okay, they're not going to listen to you. They will not hearken unto thee. Thou shalt also call unto them, but they will not answer thee. You can call, you can beckon them in, you can invite. Jeremiah is going to sit at the gate of the temple, of the gate of the city, and he's going to call people in. Come over, listen. I'm preaching God's word. He's a street preacher, if you will, and he's preaching God's word, but they're not listening. They're not going to answer him. How many folks have, as pastor or any of us, we can think of, how many folks we have invited to church and invited, but they don't listen and they won't answer. Right? So we've got the same problem today that Jeremiah had. Okay, but thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God. And Israel has historically been, if you will, a thorn in the world's flesh. Okay? Israel holds a unique position among all the nations. Little tiny Israel is at the center of practically everything that happens in the world today. In the Middle East, everybody around Israel wants to destroy them because they are God's chosen people. But here they're God's chosen people, and they have this unique position in the world, but they're not listening. They're not listening today. The children of Israel, the Messiah, has been born. The Messiah came, but most of the children of Israel have not paid attention to their own scriptures, because the scriptures they have would be the Old Testament, and they aren't listening to them. So same thing's happening with them today and us today. This is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God, nor receiveth correction. They're not even, God is correcting them. God sends nations in to, when they backslide, nations in to chasten them and, destroy crops and move in. And, you can name, the Philistines, the Hittites, all of those guys, the Ite brothers, the Amorites, the Hittites, all those guys, sends them in, the Medes, the Persians, to chasten them, but they don't pay any attention to it. They don't receive correction. Voice that receive the correction. Truth is perished and is cut off from their mouth. They're listening to lies. They are telling themselves lies. We kind of tell ourselves lies. Somebody asks you, "Oh, how you doing?" "Oh, doing fine, doing okay." I even say that. Oh, but I'm doing okay, except for my little bit of two suspicious spots of cancer on my prostate. That's too much information, but TMI. Anyway, I'm doing fine other than that. The truth is perished and is cut off from their mouth. So now further instructions, verse 29. Cut off thine hair, O Jerusalem, and cast it away. Now one thing that, in the law, folks were instructed if they happen to touch a dead body, come in contact with a dead body, or an unclean person, okay, they were instructed, kind of severe instruction, but it's there. Shave your heads, cut off your hair for this period that you need to remain unclean. You have become unclean by touching a dead body. Okay? And let's see. Just a minute. Samson, he was a Nazarite, and let's see. Who else? There was someone else. Okay. Someone else. Beside, had to cut off their hair because, or they were supposed to. I think Samson was supposed to, because he ate he was the one that ate the honey from the body of a lion. Yeah, honeybees went in there and set up camp in the body of a dead lion, and he ate of that. He was supposed to, but there were instructions about cutting off their hair in that case. He didn't. Yeah, he didn't do it. He just let it grow. Yeah. So anyway, cut off thine hair, cast it away, and take up a lamentation on high places. Okay? And this also, cutting off the hair, is also a sign of extreme mourning. Lamentations is again another sign. This is long-term crying. Okay, weeping. Lamentation, weeping for lost ones. Okay? And so you cut off your hair, cast it away, take up a lamentation in high places, go up to a high hill, and cry and weep and mourn. But the idea is for them to mourn for their sin that is causing this coming destruction, and mourn before God and go to God with their mourning. Okay? For the Lord, and take up a lamentation, for the Lord hath rejected and forsaken the generation of his wrath. Okay? He even instructed Jeremiah, remember last week, not to give any prayers to these people, because they're so bad with their sin, and they're stiff-necked, backsliding. They're so bad with it, God won't hear their prayers, or his prayers. If he's praying for the people, God won't hear them. Now, one thing we can kind of count on today, God will, if we are praying for somebody that needs salvation, God will hear our prayers, and he will work, in those prayers, through those prayers, he will work in those folks' lives that we're praying for. So he hasn't rejected us yet. And we aren't a generation of his wrath yet. But like I said, his long suffering is running thin, patience is running thin. For the children of Judah have done evil in my sight, saith the Lord. They have set their abominations in the house which is called by my name, to pollute it. They've even brought. They're coming to, like I've said before, they're coming to the temple, okay, whilst and bringing the abomination of their sins, unrepented sins, bringing their sins into the temple in this show, if you will, of I'm gonna worship God today. I'm gonna take a sacrifice to God today, to the one true God. but then I'm going to go home and worship Baal or whoever, any of those other guys. But bringing, worship of God to his house, which is called by his name, to pollute it. It just pollutes the temple. Okay? And they have built the high places of Tophet, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I commanded them not. They are doing human sacrifices like the heathens. Yeah, you see all these, I guess the Mayans, they were good for that. They would sacrifice their children just for whatever reason. Oh, good crops, water, rain, whatever reason. They burned their sons and daughters in the fire, and they were good for that. A lot of civilizations, they aren't very civilized civilizations, but a lot of the groups and tribes and all that are guilty of adult sacrifice, child sacrifice, human sacrifice. And God this wasn't a suggestion. God didn't say, oh, hey, this is just a suggestion, guys. Hey, don't sacrifice your kids or other humans. This is a command. This is an order. I command, don't do that, he said. It's not a suggestion, it's a don't do that. Neither came it into my heart. Okay? That idea never crossed God's path, but he did have to warn them. Okay? Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. For they shall bury in Tophet, there will be no place. When all this happens, when Nebuchadnezzar moves in, and all this happens, okay, there's going to be a slaughter, and the carcasses of this people shall be meat for the fowls of the heaven. There are too many of them. Like I said, 2/3 of the nation of Israel at that time were going to die. 2/3 of them. And that's going to be a couple of million people. And they're going to be, food for the crows, food for the vultures, for the fowls of heaven. And actually, they would also be food for the majestic bald eagle, which is our nation's bird, because bald eagles are scavenger birds too. Hate to say it. Ben Franklin wanted the turkey. That probably would have been
Makes more sense.
Makes more sense, yeah. But anyway, shall be meat for the fowl and for the beasts of the earth, and none shall fray them away. Nobody's going to be there to scatter the birds. Then I will cause to cease from the cities of Judah and from the streets of Jerusalem the voice of mirth. Okay? Joy, happiness. Nobody's going to be laughing. Nobody's going to be joyful. And the voice of gladness, they'll be gone. Ceased from the cities, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. No happiness there, no cheer there, for the land shall be desolate. It's wiped out, and this is, God's theme, if you will, throughout all of Jeremiah. The land will be desolate and unfit for anything. And that's, hey, we finished a chapter.